Mom is going to live here, so you need to move out. Suddenly, my husband Michael said this to me, leaving me. What? Completely baffled. Naturally, my parents, who were listening in on speakerphone, seemed just as clueless. I put the call on hold for a moment to explain the situation to them. Then, my parents and I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Wait a minute, move out? Who are you talking to? My mom was laughing so hard, and even my dad was tearing up from laughter. Holding back my laughter, I then said to Michael, "Please, make yourself at home. My name is Lynette. I'm a 32-year-old office worker. I met my husband Michael at work 2 years ago and we got married. Even after getting married, I decided to continue working at the same place. But I diligently took care of household chores after coming home and on weekends. On the other hand, Michael hardly did any housework. Well, it's more accurate to say he didn't at all. Michael grew up with lots of love from his mother, Carolyn, after his parents divorced when he was young. This made Michael quite the mama's boy. That alone wouldn't have been a problem, but he often compared me with Carolyn. For example, about cooking. I love Mom's cooking more. Or, Mom's cooking is way better than yours. Such comments were a daily occurrence. Also, when I tried to offer words of consolation after a setback at work, Mom would say it more kindly. Your words lack love, Michael would say. Because I was always being compared to Carolyn, I recently stopped offering words of consolation. And I started to ignore Michael's complaints more. I even considered divorce, but Carolyn was my mom Tilda's childhood friend. Carolyn was over the moon about our marriage when it was decided. Thus, getting a divorce felt like betraying Carolyn, making it hard for me to take that step. Then, one day, Michael said this. Mom has decided to live here soon. I expressed my reluctance to his words. The reason is because. Wait, this is too sudden. Besides, we don't have room for Carolyn in our house. We live in an apartment, not in a high-rise, but a regular one. It's not very spacious, just right for 2 people. However, Michael said, then, we'll just have to move. Moving would be such a hassle, with all the address changes and everything. He spoke so lightly of moving, but it involves various expenses. And there's the trouble of going through all the address change procedures. Besides, the last time I saw Carolyn, she said she was fine living alone. I often go back to my parents' house, and sometimes I see Carolyn there. Being Mom's childhood friend, she sometimes visits our house. During those visits, my son wants to live together, but I don't want to interfere with your married life. Besides, I visit Tilda's house like this, so I'm not lonely, Carolyn said. I told Michael about this, but that's just Mom being considerate of you. Read between the lines. He dismissed it. I didn't think Carolyn was just being considerate, it probably was her true feeling. But Michael was not convinced at all. Carolyn really did said that, maybe you should check with her. It's too late for that. I shouldn't have consulted you. With that, Michael stormed off to his room. Why doesn't Michael listen to others? And why won't he consider my opinion? I was left sighing deeply. A few days later, I went to my parents' house. My parents and Carolyn were there. I told them about Michael considering living with Carolyn. I'm really sorry you're being troubled by Michael. Carolyn apologized deeply, but it wasn't her fault. Please stop, Carolyn. You've done nothing wrong. But really, I keep telling Michael, parents won't be around forever, he can't keep depending on them. I tried to reassure her, but Carolyn was clearly frustrated with Michael's behavior. Mom also spoke to Carolyn. Carolyn, you're too kind. Have you been stern with Michael? It's quite difficult. Carolyn seemed aware that Michael's behavior was excessive, but being his only family, she probably found it hard to be too strict. Then, Dad, hearing this conversation and wanting to lighten the mood, made a suggestion. How about we all go on a vacation together? I just happen to have tickets. Everyone was excited about Dad's proposal. I thought it would be nice to go on vacation after a long time, but then we encountered a problem. But we have 4 tickets. There's 3 for us, so what about the 4th person? Indeed. We had 4 tickets in front of us, but there were only 3 of us. We looked at Carolyn, who hesitantly said, No. I shouldn't impose. I'll pass this time, it would be too much trouble for all of you. We were pondering what to do with the extra ticket, but after returning home, we promised to invite Michael and left it at that for the day. After getting home, I told Michael about the upcoming vacation. I thought he might be opposed to it, but why not? Go and have fun. He surprisingly agreed, which was nice. Then, I tried to invite Michael to the vacation, but I'd rather not. Besides, I have plans that day. He flatly refused. I called Dad to inform him that Michael wouldn't be coming. After the call, Michael approached me. By the way, you went to your parents' house today. Did you see Mom? Yeah, I did. I answered, and Michael suddenly pressed on. Did Mom say anything about living together? I explained to Michael what Carolyn thought about it. After hearing the explanation, Michael sighed. See, I told you, Mom is just being considerate of you all. Maybe I should tell her that it's best not to get too close to that house. I got irritated by his words and retorted sharply. That's no way to speak. Carolyn said she can't be strict with you. Maybe she actually wants you to grow up and move on? Then, Michael grabbed me by the chest. Whenever our arguments escalated, it always ended like this. Because of this, I often ended up hurt. But Michael, unconcerned, sternly said to me, If you say anything bad about Mom, I won't let it go. Got it? After saying that, he let go of his grip and pushed me away. Luckily, I wasn't injured, but I started thinking that I might need to consider divorce. A few days later, I decided to visit my parents' house again. Mom was out with Carolyn that day, so only Dad was at home. After telling Dad about what had happened, he sighed a lot, but after hearing everything, he said to me, Lynette, if it's too hard, you can always come back home. Your mom and I are on your side. Tears welled up in my eyes at Dad's words. When I mentioned considering divorce, It's your life, Lynette, Dad passionately said. Feeling encouraged, I was about to return home. Dad then told me what happened to the 4th ticket. The day before the vacation, I was packing my bags. Then, Michael came into my room. Since that argument, we hardly spoke, so I wondered what he wanted. Tomorrow, what time are we leaving? Expecting a complaint, I was surprised by his question. I replied, We're leaving at 10 a.m. And Michael said, Okay. Then left the room. I was left wondering about the purpose of his visit, but assumed it was just to confirm the departure time, and didn't dwell on it much. But I never imagined what would happen next. On the day of the trip, Michael seemed to still be in his room, but I didn't pay much attention and headed to my parents' house. My parents were there, but one person was missing. Huh? She's not here yet? Apparently, she said, I'll finish some errands and then meet you there. Go ahead without me. Then, shall we head to the hotel? So, the 3 of us decided to go to the hotel we were staying at. The hotel was famous for being hard to book. We were lucky to get these tickets. Dad was boasting. The room was great, with a view of a vivid bamboo forest through the window. As Mom and I were marveling at it, Dad was taking photos of us. In the middle of this wonderful family time, a call came in that would shatter the moment. From Michael? I wonder what it's about. Yes. I made sure to put it on speakerphone so my parents could hear. Then came Michael's reply, with a weird laugh. Lynette? Sorry to bother you during your trip. I have some unfortunate news for you. Unfortunate news? I wondered what he meant when Michael said, Mom is going to live here, so you need to move out. Suddenly, Michael said this to me, leaving me. What? Completely baffled. Naturally, my parents, who were listening on speakerphone, seemed just as clueless. I put the call on hold for a moment to explain the situation to them. Then, my parents and I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Wait a minute, move out? Who are you talking to? Mom was laughing so hard, and even Dad was tearing up from laughter. While holding back my laughter, I then said to Michael, Please, make yourself at home. And the moment I hung up, we all burst out laughing again. What? Why now? Wait, he's kidding, right? What is Michael thinking? After a round of laughter, I said to my parents with a weird laugh, Probably, things are getting pretty hectic over there right now. I never expected Michael to declare that it was time for me to leave our home. And since we could guess what would happen next, we decided to wait for the person who had the fourth ticket. Meanwhile, as for Michael, right after I left, started taking action immediately. He first called a moving company to store all my belongings in a rented warehouse. Then, he decided to go to his parents' house to move all the home furniture to our house. Upon arriving at his parents' house, he immediately started loading all the furniture onto a truck. Seeing this, Carolyn came out of the room. What are you doing? Carolyn was puzzled, and Michael, with a weird laugh, held her hand. I've decided to divorce Lynette and live with you, Mom. Carolyn was completely confused. The moving process continued in the meantime. Carolyn thought, maybe something is happening. So, she made a call saying, I'll finish some errands and then meet you at the destination. Go ahead without me. After all the belongings were moved, Michael arrived at our house, unloading the home furniture one after another. Carolyn was clueless the entire time, but finally understood upon arriving at our house. Mom, from today, we'll live here. I've kicked out the unwanted person. Carolyn looked distrustful at Michael's words. Then, she said to Michael, What about Lynette? Lynette is being kicked out. We don't need her here. Hearing this, Carolyn became furious. Enough! You don't cherish your wife at all, always saying Mom, Mom. It's time you grew up. Carolyn rarely scolded Michael, but after initially being stunned, he quickly tried to appease her. Wait. I'm doing this for you, Mom. However, Carolyn became even angrier at Michael. What do you mean for you, Mom? How old do you think you are? You have a precious wife. And yet you treat her so dismissively. I care about Lynette too. What are you doing not valuing Lynette? Reflect on how terribly you've treated her. Carolyn attempted to leave the house, but Michael tried to stop her. However, Carolyn firmly resisted. Where are you going, Mom? I'm not telling you. Cool off and reflect on your actions. Carolyn shrugged off a bewildered Michael and left the house. Mom! Mom! Ignoring a lamenting Michael, Carolyn got into the taxi she had called earlier and headed to a certain place. Meanwhile, for us, we had been touring the hotel, exploring what places it had. Then, just as we were about to head to the beach, "Sorry, I'm late." The person who entered the room was Carolyn. Initially hesitant, Carolyn decided to join the trip to set Michael straight after hearing about the incident between me and Michael. "So, how was Michael?" When I asked about Michael's condition, Carolyn answered with a laugh. "When I got angry, he was just confused." "Well, he's always been spoiled, so he probably didn't expect me to get angry." Still, I've never seen Carolyn angry. I kind of wanted to see that. While Mom was laughing, Dad became curious. "Are you really that mild-mannered?" Yes. She never used to get angry back in the day. Even when boys were mean to her, she wouldn't notice. "Hey, Tilda." Watching Mom and Carolyn interact so happily, we all laughed. Afterward, we enjoyed the sea, watched the hotel's entertainment, and had a fulfilling trip, but after dinner, a call came from someone we had completely forgotten about. We decided to put the call on speakerphone to listen to Michael's call. Hello. "Hey, Lynette. What did you say to Mom?" "Thanks to you, I got scolded by Mom for the first time." Unaware that Carolyn was listening, Michael vented his frustration. "Because of you. I was embarrassed. Take responsibility." "Responsibility? What should I do?" I asked, and Michael made an outrageous demand. "Apologize to Mom. Say sorry for the trouble you've caused for being selfish. Tell her you will break up with me and leave the house." I almost laughed at such a preposterous request. In fact, my parents listening next to me were already laughing. "Oh my God, she's right in front of her." He's really outdoing himself with these self-sabotaging statements. While watching my parents laugh, I calmly said, "I could apologize, but do you realize the situation I'm in right now?" "Huh? How would I know that?" Still angry, Michael didn't realize. "You know this call right now. Your mom and my parents are also listening." Suddenly, Michael's attitude changed, and he started to panic. "Wait. Mom's there?" "Yes." Hearing Carolyn's voice, Michael was flustered. "No way. Why?" But Carolyn, unfazed, said, "I was on vacation today with Lynette's family." More importantly, what was all that about earlier? "No. This is..." Watching a flustered Michael, Carolyn said calmly, "I've said it all along. Cherish your wife. And yet, all you can say is Mom, Mom. Enough is enough. You married Lynette because you loved her, right? Well, that's, Seeing Carolyn genuinely angry. "She can be really scary," we instinctively said. I think this is the first time I've seen Carolyn so angry. Considering Carolyn's usually very gentle nature, her anger was rare for us to witness. Yet, Carolyn's lecture didn't stop. "What will you do when your parents are gone? Can you manage it alone? I raised you with love, but I don't remember raising someone who can't do anything without their parents. Learn to be independent." Carolyn then gave me a smiley eye contact. My parents were already saying to Karen, "Carolyn, that was scary. I've never seen you be like that before." Amazed by the change, I thought, this person is terrifying. While continuing the call with Michael. "Also, after this trip, I'm considering divorcing you." "Divorce?" Hearing the word divorce, Michael began to panic again. "Are you mad because I tried to kick you out?" "No, it's more than that. I've been fed up with your mama's boy behavior. You just need Carolyn, right? Well, actually, you're almost disowned by her now. Wait. Let me explain. Michael was increasingly panicked. Let's meet again after the trip. But I ended the call with a smile. Our family and Carolyn couldn't help but high-five each other. I think this alone might be too lenient. Lynette, could we talk for a moment? I had a discussion with Carolyn. I thought it might be harsh for Michael, but considering all he had done, I agreed it was a suitable punishment. Then, with that momentum, we went out to eat and dance, and the night went on. The 3-night, 4-day vacation came to a peaceful end, and after visiting various tourist spots, we headed home. That home was the one where Michael was left behind. When I opened the door to the house, the living room, slightly visible from the entrance, was in chaos. The once clean living room was now cluttered with trash and laundry. As we entered the house, we found Michael crouched down. He began to apologize deeply upon seeing us. "I'm so sorry. I really am." I decided to ask Michael, "Who are you apologizing to? Carolyn? Or me?" "Both of you," Michael replied weakly. I made eye contact with Carolyn and said, "We discussed what to do about you." Michael looked at me. I quietly responded, "First, I don't need any alimony from the divorce, so please, let's get divorced. Also, cut ties with Carolyn. Lastly, live in this house alone." Michael was clearly bewildered by these words. "What? Me, divorce you, cut ties with Mom, and live in this room alone? Impossible. I've never done any housework before." "Exactly. You've always had me or Lynette do everything for you, but that's over now. You've relied on people too much. From now on, manage your life on your own," Carolyn stated calmly. My parents also agreed with our decision. After hearing Lynette's story, I realized I couldn't entrust her to you. You need to experience the hardships that Carolyn and Lynette went through. Michael's complexion worsened. "Please, not that. I can't live without Mom and Lynette." However, Carolyn and I remained firm in our decision. "After all the complaints you've had about me? Coming back now is just selfish. Appreciate what me and Lynette have done for you and live with that." Hearing this, Michael kept pleading weakly, "I'm sorry. Please don't leave." But we ignored him. Carolyn and I delivered the final blow. "I'll move my stuff later. It's unfortunate. Your actions ruined our cohabitation. If you had listened to us, this wouldn't have happened. Well, it's too late now." With that, we left the house. Michael was crying, but we silently closed the door behind us. The divorce between Michael and me was finalized, and Carolyn's belongings were moved back to her original home, culminating in our estrangement from Michael. Since Michael and I worked at the same place even after the divorce, we occasionally met. But his suits were wrinkled and smelled musty, making him somewhat of an outcast among coworkers. Moreover, not being particularly skilled at work, he was soon to be considered for restructuring. Rumors had it that Michael's solo living wasn't going well. Unable to clean, his home had become a garbage house. This situation made him a nuisance to other residents, and he was on the verge of being evicted. And at home, I heard he was still shouting mine and Carolyn's names every day. Well, all I can say is good luck to him. As for me, I decided to move all my belongings into a new place. Fortunately, since Michael had stored everything in a warehouse, my belongings were safe. My new home is near my parents' house. I still visit my parents regularly. And, as always, I'm still on good terms with Carolyn. We're planning another vacation together. I'm not keen on marrying again soon, but if I do find someone, I'll make sure not to choose a mama's boy this time.
Well, Mom, how about making sandwiches for us every day until you can get together $30,000? If you don't, I won't let you see Amelia anymore. Such an unreasonable demand from my eldest son turned my life upside down. Before dawn, I was making sandwiches for his family and delivering them, then heading to the care facility. Worn out from fatigue and lack of sleep, I just couldn't bring myself to cut ties with him, all because of my love for my adorable granddaughter, Amelia. But one day, a tearful Amelia revealed a shocking truth her parents had kept hidden. I can't forgive them anymore. I reached my breaking point and decided to fight back. My name is Emma. I am 72 years old. I lost my husband last year and now live alone in our family home. My husband, who was the same age as me, developed dementia in his later years. I took care of him at home for a while, but the last year was spent under the care of a facility. Because of that, I still have a connection to that facility, even after he's gone. I was mentally and physically exhausted from caregiving, and the staff at the facility were truly kind to me. Thanks to them, I believe my husband spent his last year in peace. The facility was always short-staffed and extremely busy. After my husband passed away, I talked to the staff and decided to help out in any small way I could. I've always been good at cooking and baking, so I would make sandwiches and desserts for the staff whenever I went to the facility. Then one day, out of the blue, my eldest son and his family came to visit. It took me by surprise, but I served them tea. "Mom, it's been a while. Sorry for barging in like this. We've had some issues and decided to move to this area," James, my eldest son, said while reaching for the treats on the table. He looked worn out for some reason. Natalie, my daughter-in-law, barely spoke since they arrived and kept fiddling with her cell phone. They decided to move all of a sudden? Did something happen? A faint unease lingered in my heart, but I greeted my granddaughter Amelia with a smile. "Amelia, you've grown up so much. How have you been?" It must have been about 5 years since I last saw my eldest son's family. Ever since my husband was diagnosed with dementia, my days were consumed with caregiving, leaving no time or energy for anything else. I couldn't even keep up with my adorable Amelia. "Granny, it's been a while. I've been good. I'm in the 9th grade now." "Oh my, how time flies. You'll be taking exams this year then. You better do your best." Upon hearing this, Amelia's expression turned somber. I wondered, is moving during such a critical period in her education a good idea? Just then, a cat's meow echoed from the kitchen. Amelia whispered with joy, "A cat?" and hurried towards the sound. "Mom, since when did you get a cat?" "No, that little kitty just pops in from time to time. I always leave the back door slightly ajar for her." Sounds risky. James was staring intently towards the kitchen. Natalie didn't lift her face from her smartphone. In Amelia's absence, I probed my son and his wife about the reasons behind their move. Their response was vague, but in essence, they moved hastily due to financial troubles stemming from a failed business venture. I then inquired about James's job. "Job? Well, things have been rough. My health's been on the decline, and the doctor advised some rest. More importantly, Mom, I have a favor to ask." James was hoping for a loan. The failed business and move drained their finances, and they were nearly out of money. He needed about $5,000 for daily expenses. Honestly, I hesitated. Even though he's my eldest, lending such a large sum on the spot felt daunting. Are the two of them even thinking about their future? But no matter how much I probed, all I got was, "Just lend us the money." Despite my reservations, I took out $5,000 from my savings and handed it to James. With a smirk, James quickly pocketed the money. "Well, do your best for Amelia's sake. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know." "Yeah, thanks. We're heading out now, but we'll be around often. Please keep some food ready for us." With that, James called Amelia, who was petting the cat in the kitchen, and the three of them left. As I cleared the dishes, a sense of unease about what the future held settled in. "Hey, Mom, it's me. I'll be coming over tonight. have dinner and a bath ready, okay? Oh, and I've run out of the money you gave me, so I'll need a bit more. Later. Without waiting for my response, James hangs up the phone. I sigh heavily and set my mobile phone on the table. It's been 2 weeks since my eldest son's family imposed themselves on me. Since then, James has been coming over almost daily for meals and money. On weekends, his adorable daughter Amelia joins. At first, I prepared special meals and lent him a few $1,000s each time, but I've reached my limit. James claimed he couldn't work due to medical reasons, but he looked perfectly healthy to me. I couldn't understand why he was blowing through the large sums I lent him every week. That evening, fed up, I sternly confronted James and his wife when they arrived. I told them I didn't want them visiting so frequently, and to stop asking for food and money. What? You said you'd help, didn't you? Was that a lie? Predictably, James became aggressive in his words and demeanor. His wife, Natalie, silently played with her phone while eating the meal I'd prepared. There are limits, you know. Making me prepare meals every day? Asking for money every week? Enough is enough. I'll go bankrupt at this rate. Fine. I'll give up on the money for now, but instead bring me sandwiches every day. Enough for 3 meals. What? I can't do that. I've told you I volunteer at a facility every weekday morning. Then drop them off before you go. Wake up at 3 a.m. if you have to. Before I could respond, James added, If you don't do anything for us, you won't see Amelia anymore. We'll cut ties with you. Knowing how much I adore my only granddaughter Amelia, James smirked. Honestly, I'd love to cut ties with this couple, but I worry about sweet Amelia. Let me think. I can't come up with money that easily. Then at least gather around $30,000 for now, and remember the sandwiches daily. Let's go, Natalie. From now on, we don't have to come here every day, since Mom will deliver our sandwiches. From that day on, my life dramatically changed. I would wake up before dawn to prepare sandwiches for James's family, deliver them, and then head to the facility. Exhausted and sleep-deprived, my love for Amelia stopped me from cutting ties with my son. This exhausting routine continued for about a month. Then, unexpectedly, Amelia visited alone one weekend. I greeted her with a smile, but she looked somber. To be honest, Dad told me not to visit you anymore. Amelia confessed as she gently stroked our family cat in the kitchen. They make you prepare sandwiches every day while they just laze around at home. I'm so sorry. You don't need to apologize, Amelia. Well, I am a bit worried about those two, but how's the new school? Are you keeping up with your studies? I tried to shift the topic with a cheerful tone, but Amelia remained silent, tears streaming down her face. Caught off guard, I comforted her by rubbing her back. Eventually, she broke down crying even louder. Not understanding the reason, I patiently waited for Amelia to calm down. When she finally stopped crying, she revealed a shocking truth. Amelia hadn't been attending middle school since they moved here. Not just that, she claimed James forced her to lie about her age and work several part-time jobs. All the money she earned went straight into James's pocket. Furthermore, James took away her cell phone when they moved. One night, he suddenly said, "We're moving!" And she was forced onto a truck without even saying goodbye to her friends or teachers. James had forcefully made her promise not to tell me, her grandmother, about all this. I was dumbfounded by the shocking revelations pouring from Amelia's tear-filled eyes. It seemed as if they had moved, secretly, in the dead of night. What could have possibly happened to my eldest son and his wife? That's how it was. Amelia, you've been struggling all this time? I'm sorry I didn't notice earlier, but thank you for telling me. No, I should apologize. I didn't want to upset you. You know, I overheard Dad and Mom talking about you yesterday. They were planning to secretly take some sort of property deed from your place and then pretend you have dementia to place you in a facility. I just couldn't hold it in anymore. Unable to hold back, Amelia began to cry again. I hugged her tightly. No matter what, I couldn't forgive my eldest son anymore. Until now, I endured everything for dear Amelia's sake, but I've reached my breaking point. James is clearly an adult and a parent himself. He must face the consequences of his actions. I made up my mind silently. Amelia, you don't need to worry. Leave everything to me. Oh, by the way, where are you planning to take your school entrance exams? I smiled at Amelia, trying to encourage her. Amelia, her eyes red from crying, looked a little comforted. Well, I want to go to a place called Winchester Culinary School. With everything going on and lack of money, I might not even be able to apply. Oh, the Winchester Culinary School! I know it. It's a vocational school for cooking and baking, right? The person who founded it was in the same class as your grandfather and me. It's a good school. Really? That's amazing! I love the dishes you make. I want to make people smile with my cooking, just like you. After that, Amelia shared her dreams with me. She told me that despite her tough circumstances, she never gave up and continued studying diligently. I encouraged Amelia and made her promise to continue her studies. After seeing Amelia off, I quickly took action. First, I decided to investigate my eldest son and his wife, so I hired a private investigator. A week later, after receiving the investigation results and pondering them, I made several contacts. Once everything was in order, I called James. I have something substantial to give him. He must bring Natalie and Amelia with him. Thinking he'd finally get his hands on the big bucks, James eagerly agreed to the conditions, deciding to meet at a coffee shop over the weekend. I was seated by the coffee shop's window, engrossed in my phone, when James and his family approached. I set my phone down on the table and exchanged greetings. Hey, give me the money already. Do you want to be cut off from us? Immediately, James reached for the thick brown envelope by my side, filled to the brim. Pulling the envelope closer, I held on to it firmly. If you really want, we can sever ties. But before that, I have some things to confirm with you. Only after that will I hand this over. I began by pointing out that ever since their move, they hadn't enrolled Amelia in middle school and had been making her work illegally on the side. The couple tried to brush it off, clearly eager for the money, but eventually admitted the truth. We had no money, so we had no choice. Once we get the money, she'll quit her job and go back to middle school. Suspicious. With doubt, I continued to question why James wasn't working. Are you truly on medical leave? Which hospital did you go to? Show me some proof, like a receipt or a health insurance card. I don't have any. You're not faking it, are you? Lying just because you don't want to work? As the atmosphere grew tense, James raised his voice. Don't say things like that! I didn't go to any hospital, but something really traumatic happened, and it's been hard. James, can you honestly tell me what happened? If you do, I'll give you this. When I motioned to the envelope in my hand, James begrudgingly began to speak. I get it now. When you said your business failed last time, you were actually betrayed by a business partner, a guy named Alexander. He took off with all the money I worked so hard to earn. He had control over the core know-how and equipment, so I was powerless without him. Oh, that's what happened. I'm the victim here. That's why I couldn't pay the rent and other bills and had to move. Now just give me that money already. With that, James snatches the envelope from my grasp. However, when he quickly opens it, instead of a wad of cash, it's filled with a bunch of bills. James stares blankly at the bills scattered across the table. Why don't you just tell the truth for once? Feeling let down by my eldest son's persistence in lying, I reveal the facts I've gathered. As the business started to profit, he got deep into the sex industry, accumulating massive debt. To cover it, he deceived his business partner, took all the earnings, and even got involved with payday lenders. Then he moved away secretly in the middle of the night. Do you have any idea how hard it was for Amelia? She was thrown into chaos without understanding the reason. She couldn't even say goodbye to her friends and teachers. And you took away her phone? Do you understand how scared and hurt she felt? Whether James was listening or not, he desperately searches the bills, hoping to find money. Watching his pitiable state, I was utterly exasperated. James, hiding from payday lenders and business owners, had neither been working nor notifying the proper authorities of his whereabouts or processing school transfers for Amelia. His wife Natalie wasn't working either, so they had no income. It's clear they were counting on me from the beginning. No, I was planning to work once things settled down. What exactly did you do? All you've done is demand money and meals from me and force Amelia to work, right? Natalie is always on her phone, not working at all. Also, I know you've been sneaking into my house while I'm gone. That's breaking and entering. A serious crime, you know. I always leave the back door open for the neighborhood cats. Knowing this, James had been repeatedly breaking into my house whenever I was away. The day Amelia told me about James and Natalie, I remembered I had a pet camera I'd won in a raffle. I fetched it from the storage and set it up. Sure enough, the footage showed James sneaking in from the back door while I was away, rummaging through my cupboards. I've saved the footage on my mobile phone. So, after getting hold of the deeds to my house and land, you planned to make it seem like I'd lost my mind, put me in a facility, and then snatch everything away. You moved here with that intent from the beginning, didn't you? Shut up! You keep making me out to be a criminal. Just because you're my mother, you think you can make baseless accusations? I have a witness right here. Suddenly, an intimidating male voice sounded from behind. James, upon seeing the man, was shocked and jumped. What? Alexander? Why are you... Emma contacted me. I heard there was a discussion today, so I came from far away to participate. Good to see you, James. Looking well, I see. Saying so, Alexander took a seat next to James, effectively blocking his exit. It's my first time meeting him, but Alexander is quite an imposing middle-aged man. I'm surprised James dared to cross someone like him. James, return the money now. There are officers waiting outside. I filed a police report. Pay up or turn yourself in. Decide now. Hearing this from Alexander, James hurriedly looked towards the window. Just as Alexander said, a police car was parked right outside the diner, with an officer standing there, looking our way while on his phone. James looked shocked by the scene, his eyes wide as he instinctively moved back in his seat. Wait, Alexander, I was wrong. I'm truly sorry. I'll pay you back, I promise. I wasn't running away. I just needed a little more time. Just a bit longer, please. Maybe another 2 weeks? So you plan to sneak out in the middle of the night and move again. You think I trust the words of someone who's lied to me once? I'll ask one more time. Will you return the $30,000 you stole from me now, or will you go to the officer outside? Which is it? Finally, he'd be arrested. A tangible, profound fear overtook James, sweat forming on his brow. Trembling, James just stared at the table silently for a moment. Eventually, James's bloodshot eyes slowly turned to face me. Hey, Mom, are you okay with this? If I get arrested, Amelia will be the daughter of a criminal. Your meddling has ruined your sweet granddaughter's life. If you don't want that, give me the money. Alexander, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could I borrow your cell phone? Mine isn't working right now. I need to dial this number. Cutting off James's desperate plea, I abruptly addressed Alexander. Ignoring the dumbfounded James, I took the phone that Alexander handed over willingly and dialed a number. Switching the call to speaker mode, I placed the phone on the table. Amelia, I'm calling the dean of the Winchester Culinary School. I've already briefed him about your situation. Please, have a chat with him. Amelia was visibly flustered. What? Shortly, the call connected, and a flustered Amelia picked up the phone. A deep, calm male voice came through from the other end. Hello, this is William. Oh, hi! My name's Amelia. I love my grandmother's cooking. And I want to be able to make dishes that bring joy to people too. I want to join the Winchester Culinary School. It was a call with the dean of the prestigious Winchester Culinary School. Amelia, filled with nervous excitement, tried her best to convey her feelings. Dean William listened intently, occasionally nodding and giving encouraging murmurs. I see. Thank you for sharing, Amelia. It seems you've been through a lot. Your grandmother Emma is an old friend of mine. I'm aware of the situation. Amelia, once so excited, suddenly went silent. That's right, she had no hope for exams or the future. Like a deflating balloon, her shoulders slumped in disappointment. But you know, that doesn't matter. You have dreams and you're working hard towards them. You've honored our Winchester Culinary School by choosing it as your first step. We give everyone an equal chance and support all students, no matter their background. Come, take the test with integrity. We'll be waiting. The call ended. I thanked him and handed the mobile phone back to Alexander. Yes, Amelia will be fine now. I can turn myself in without any worries. James's face went blank, and he froze. For those who might not know, the Winchester Culinary School is where Amelia wants to study. It's a professional cooking school. Despite the challenges from her clueless parents, nothing will hold her back. Amelia looked at her father. Her cheeks were still flushed from the tension of the call, but her eyes sparkled. James looked deflated, avoiding eye contact, clearly embarrassed. Prompted by Alexander, James exited the diner. The officer put away his phone and started talking to James. It's disheartening to see your child in police custody, but I want James to take full responsibility for his actions. I picked up the mobile phone left on the table. I had previously consulted with the officer and had him on the line during our conversation. With everything recorded, even James can't escape this time. And one more thing. I turned to Natalie. Throughout the confrontation with James, she seemed disinterested, constantly fiddling with her phone. Natalie? James is with the officer. What will you do? She only briefly met my gaze. Huh? I don't care about that man. I'm divorcing him soon anyway. Amelia looked shocked and turned to her mother. Wait, what about Amelia? Your marital issues are yours, but you need to consider Amelia. I've made up my mind about what I want. I'm tired of his wasteful spending. I just want to live on my terms now. Tears quickly filled Amelia's eyes. With a father like James and now her mother, how much more hurt would they inflict on their daughter? I felt more disheartened than angry and sighed deeply. Later, a resigned James confessed all his crimes at the police station and is still being interrogated. He owed $50,000 from the sex industry, took $30,000 from his former business partner Alexander, and borrowed $20,000 from payday lenders. The total amount he siphoned from me was around $20,000. Of course, both Alexander and I intend to claim every penny. As his mother, it's heartbreaking. I hope this serves as a lesson for him to deeply reflect and atone for his sins. Natalie, being James's ex-wife, was also interrogated. During this, it was discovered she had been scammed. This was a romance scam, where you get sweet-talked by someone you meet on social media, and after establishing a romantic relationship, they skillfully swindle large amounts of money. The person Natalie had been communicating with on her mobile phone claimed to be a super famous, handsome actor. One day, she received a personal direct message just for her and was passionately pursued. Natalie fell head over heels. She kept sending money, doing whatever he asked. Of course, this was an imposter, pretending to be the actor. This case mirrored numerous others reported to the police. Realizing she'd been deceived, Natalie was utterly devastated. Since she had already divorced James, she had no one to turn to and had lost her means of livelihood. After that, I decided to live with Amelia. I sold my house and land and moved to an apartment near Winchester Culinary School. The house and land, located in a prime urban area, had a huge asset value, fetching me several $1,000,000. I made sure that Amelia would be the beneficiary of these assets, so she'd never face financial hardships. We moved in the middle of the night, as if sneaking away. My parents were deeply distressed, with everything escalating to the police, but Amelia never gave up and continued to work hard. I too did everything I could, managing her transfer to middle school and helping with her exams. Thanks to our efforts, Amelia managed to take the entrance exam for Winchester Culinary School and got in. Just as Principal Williams said, Amelia dedicates herself to her studies at Winchester Culinary School, heading straight towards her dream, enjoying her youthful days surrounded by friends. Watching my beloved Amelia grow up by my side, I live with peace in my heart, basking in happiness.